Unity, oneness of minds, feelings as among a number of persons, harmony, concord, and agreements. Hello, I'm Ernest Lowery. Welcome to the podcast Unity, a place where you can come together and understand what's happening in your community. What does the community want? It wants great schools, it wants to be self-sustaining, and it wants to take crime out the neighborhoods. Come join us at Podcast Unity. Good evening. Welcome to a new adventure of Ernest Lowery, Podcast Unity. We're so glad to have you here today. And today we have another special guest, and his name is Joshua Francis. How you doing, my friend?
I'm pretty good. Mr. Ernest. How you doing?
Well, I'm telling you, man, I'm so glad to have you here. It's hard to get young people to come out and do things these days, but I'm glad that you're here.
It is very much hard. I was expecting to be late, so being on time is a young person's thing. You know, we still working on it, but I made sure I was here on time for you because you're good people.
Okay, well, thanks. I appreciate that. And you are too. So let's get to it. So I guess I can dub you as a community activist.
As of right now, I am an up-and-coming community activist. I aspire to be that, and yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, so tell me some of the things that you do.
As of right now, I'm expanding my base into Norfolk, but I'm a Chesapeake resident. I went to Indian River High School. So I kind of started early. Into the programs that we had sanctioned out of our own school, which was called Braves for Progress. I started that as a 10th grader, and I moved on to, gradually going through it through my 11th and 12th grade. But actually, while I was doing that, I had a chance to mentor the 9th and 10th graders while I was, going through my senior year. And from there, I actually expanded a little bit outward into youth sports. I had a small little role into my dad's basketball teams that he was having running. He called it, it was the team, we called it TSLS. It was the Sideline Sports League. And we actually had a chance to mentor the youth that was actually in my own neighborhood, guys that I was, a little bit older than, guys same age, but I actually had a chance to, coach them a little bit. Along as playing, I was playing too still was playing basketball, but we had a chance to be able to run that team. And actually, when I was, getting ready to move on to go to college, we brought us some even younger kids to come in and actually had a chance to, to rotate the team with him. And that was gradually, it's been through sports and youth development that I've been working my, community outreach skills. And so far, it's been going pretty good.
Okay, Joshua, you used the word mentoring several times. And you're a young guy, so I'm looking at you and you're using this big word because mentoring is an important role, right?
Right.
So you're specifically saying and talking about basketball with these kids. Why is it necessary to mentor them?
In reference to mentorship and sports, I think we don't really realize that mentorship and sports, along with youth development, it goes a long way. Because when we think that, when we're saying I'm mentoring somebody in a, kind of in a way, and when I'm talking about sports, it's not just about the sport. It's talking about how to be a young man as well as to be a good basketball player, a good baseball player, a good football player. You're instilling so much more into that young man or young lady that is going to take them a long way into life than, when the ball stops or whatever they're, it's going to stop doing, because eventually it's going to stop doing it. But you're still going to have to be a young adult. And then you're gradually going to, go into adult stage. And those life skills that are instilled that I was, just helping, I was learning along the way. So really gradually I was helping to instill those life skills that I have just learned less than a year ago or 2 years ago, because I'm not much older than these kids. So I was instilling those things, and it went a long way. We was able to talk on the same level, but at the same time, I was able to discuss things that gradually, once they realized that, hey, I can do way more with this ball than, just go play for somebody. I can actually learn these skills, how to be a manager for a team, how to be a coach for a team, And gradually, if I want to, work my business skills, I can go be an owner somewhere. So, it went a long way when you talk about mentorship. It's just not about just the talking about the sport. It's talking about the way of life and how you can get things out of it.
Okay, so is this happening before the game, halftime with the prep talk, or do you have a specific place that you guys may meet at some point in time? And overall, how many people are you talking about when you gather these young men together?
So, in reference to that, it happens all from the start to the finish. From the start to the finish, we all know that communication is all the time. So you have to communicate. But when we're talking about in reference to that sport, it's from the start to finish, from the beginning of the game, during the game. Life skills are attached to all parts of the quarters: first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. So in reference to, of course, we're talking about the game. While you're in there, we're talking about the plays. You're talking about the skill sets. What you need to do to win. But gradually, life gems are sprinkled while you're playing. When you're saying hey, you can't give up on that play. Saying you can't, emotionally pull yourself out of that play, or you can't emotionally take yourself out of the game. That's basically saying, when something gets hard or something is starting to get heavy, while you're, in life, you can't emotionally take yourself out just because that one moment is hard or that one moment is difficult. You gotta keep driving. You gotta keep shooting it. When you're having a shooting slump, you gotta keep shooting it. That goes, when you're applying for a job, that goes, you gotta keep applying. Just because one person tells you no does not mean that you're not a good person.
Okay, so tell me, and we'll move on after this question here. After the game is over, after the season is over, what happens?
So after the season is over, we still keep up with the kids. We still keep up with the guys. Most of these guys I, personally know. So we still, will keep up with the guys.
People in the community?
Yes, people in the community, the young men in the community, just to see how the summer is going, see how the summer is going, how spring is going, whatever time is, the season has happened. Majority of those guys go on to, try to look for other teams to play with, other coaches, other, organizations to, to go ahead and get around. But, we still have a connection with them, to make sure that if they need anything, that they're still able to come back and say, hey, I know you have this connection with this company or these people who may, a lot of these guys, they do other things than wanting to play basketball or wanting to play sports. They want to be involved. So they may come back and ask my dad, hey, I know you have a connection here. I know you have a connection there. Or, hey, Josh, I know your father has this connection. I know you even know that some people have this connection. Could you help us out? Could you help me out? And then from there, it goes forward to, doing the best thing that I can to, to put the piece together to help them.
Right. Okay. So what are some of the other things that you do, Joshua?
So currently, I'm still personally a student in college. So I'm going for my media degree and my bachelor's, getting ready to finish that up in mass communications. Right now, I'm basing off of being involved in not only in my community, but I'm very involved in my church. I'm in charge of my church media. I do, little things into that. But as of right now, other things that I'm doing, I'm just being a kid, just being a young adult, growing up, gradually just learning things throughout the world that I can learn. Just going through my little hobbies, going through my little daily basis of finding out new things that I like. Just being a young man.
Well, I know in the past, I've been knowing you for quite a while, by the way.
You have.
And, this is February, and of course we talk about Black History Month and all that kind of good stuff. And I know you've been involved with some of the programs. What are some of the highlights that you've gone through over the years in this particular part of the month?
In this particular part of the month, I would say in the past, 10 years, I've been involved in small Black History events, large Black History events, events that I didn't even know what they really were called. But, my dad say, hey, this is where we need you to be. Hey, and I need you to show up there. And I'm like, all right, Actually, I will go ahead and drop this name, Apostle Tasby. she's a big part of in the Hampton Roads area. If those of us who do not know, she has the Young People Correlation.
Young People's Guild.
Young People Guild. And she has been in my life since I was the age of 5. Putting, shaping me, molding me into this communicator that I aspire to be. But a past event that I actually had a chance to serve, it was in the year of 2020. And I actually won an award for it. I actually won a speech award for it. I gave a speech on the life of W.E.B. Du Bois. And I actually got an award. I won first place for that event, and it was very, very surprising.
Well, I was there.
Yes, you were. You were.
Yeah.
You were. It was very, very surprising for me to receive that award because I studied so long. I knew who he was. Knew who W.E.B. Du Bois is. He's a great, great mind of our century and of our Black community as well. But at the same time, it was like I had to correlate it in a kind of today's kind of speech and today's kind of mind frame and everything. And it took a little minute for me to learn that because I was going through a psychological class. And I was learning about him, from his sociological standpoint. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like how am I gonna fit all this stuff into, this 30-minute speech and make it sound good and make it, but the skill sets that she provides the youth accounted for me, actually winning that trophy and actually, having that, to win that award. So I would say, she has definitely, been a great pioneer into the Black History Month in February.
I know it was a great experience for you, and you did well. Matter of fact, you don't know, but we've had Apostle Tasby on the show.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
You can't get away from her, But tell me, in your career that you're seeking, what do you aspire to be, and what direction do you want to dive into in this communication field?
In this communication field, my main focus is of course, to the youth. I think, I'm being so honest when I say this. The youth is getting a bad rap when it comes to the communication standard. A lot of us are focused on to what they say and how they say it instead of understanding that they're saying it away because not only they don't know any better, or this is just unfortunately this is just who they are. It's something that we're trying to change the communication of the youth. We're trying to change the dialects, the way that they say words and the way that they express themselves. And I really feel like my way to the masses is to teach older adults and older elders that it's no problem with the slang that they're using. It may not be the area where they need to use it. We a lot of the youth, yes, they try to bring the slang into the classrooms. They try to bring the slang or the way that they talk to their friends into the jobs. And that may not be the areas where they need to do that because...
Do you think that may be part of the peer pressure thing, or it just...
I would say I wouldn't say it was peer pressure. I would continue to say that that's just it's the way in the environment that they're growing up. Unfortunately, we don't realize that the parents are using this kind of language and this kind of communication, and we're coming at the children instead of correcting where it began. But I want to go back to the point, but it starts with understanding that we need to, hear them more out. We need to listen to them and just say, all right, I'm going to remove this slang. I'm going to remove this dialect that may be bothering me and rubbing me the wrong way, that they're using the word bro and all of this at this moment. And I'm going to hear this young man or this young woman out because they could be saying something that I may need to hear, that I may not know. And communication is the channels are just so broad. We know that it's from us to we're communicated, and it's something that we need to learn, that, it's different ways to how to communicate, and, we have to stay focused on that.
Well, Joshua, I really thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it. And, perhaps we'll get a chance to do this again. I wish you a lot of luck in your success out here in the community. And I'm going to have my eyes on you. So thank you so very much for joining us again. And I just want to say to you people out there in the audience, thank you for watching podcast Unity. We'll be right back after this break. Thank you.
Two words: journal and guide.
Okay, welcome back to part 2 of Ernest Lowery podcast Unity. We're so glad to have you back here again. And this time we have another very interesting guest, Mr. Brad Smith, ODU star pitcher. And we're going to be talking about a plethora of things that he's done for himself and his life, and we're so glad to have him aboard. So welcome, Brad. Good to see you.
Thank you, Ernest, for having me on here.
All right, so tell me a little bit about yourself then, brother man.
Yeah, so local, I grew up in Chesapeake, and I played baseball, basketball, football growing up, and sports have always been a big part of my life. I grew up growing up in the church. I currently go to River Oak Church. That's been a big part of my life as well. I've been at ODU for 7 years now. So I studied engineering there, got my master's, and I'm here for one more year playing baseball. I had a couple setbacks with my arm and some elbow surgeries. So here I am on my 7th year, last go round, and our season starts up on Friday. So preparing for all that.
Okay, that's great. So what drove you to want to play baseball? You named a bunch of sports that you play, so why baseball?
Well, I grew up in a pretty competitive family. My 2 brothers played baseball and football, and sister. They've always kind of pushed me, and grew up in a pretty competitive environment, and kind of looked up to my brother. He played baseball at ODU as well. And so once I got into high school, I kind of had to decide what I wanted to pursue in college, and it was between baseball and football, and I stuck with baseball ever since, and I'm grateful for that. I've had my road of setbacks and stuff, but I'm almost kind of thankful for some of those setbacks that have taught me a lot of lessons about life.
Okay, so you talk about having a master's degree. In what area are you pursuing?
Yeah, it was actually kind of worked out. I'm not sure exactly what I wanted to do. I had a passion for engineering, a passion for baseball, so I was able to kind of fuse those and started studying pitching biomechanics. So I basically built a pitching mound, put a force plate in it, and basically looked at the way pitchers threw and the forces on their elbow and shoulder and all that, and was able to do that for my master's research and wrote a thesis about it. So it was kind of cool to fuse my passion of engineering and baseball. Okay,
so with engineering, segueing into that, so really throwing a ball it's a technique, right?
Yes, sir.
So can you share any secrets about that or how you prepare for a game?
Yeah. So throwing a baseball, it's not a very natural motion, which is why there's a lot of injuries in the elbow, because overhead throwing just not a natural motion. So the study that I looked into or did for my research was the ground reaction forces and how transferring that energy up the chain to the arm can kind of affect the elbow and place more pressure based upon different kinematics is what they call it. So it was interesting to see all that.
Well, I heard that the knuckleball is probably the most difficult pitch to throw. Is that true?
Yeah, the knuckleball is probably one of the most difficult ones to catch, too, because you don't know where it's going. Go up, down, crazy.
So what happened with the injury?
Yeah, so my sophomore year, I had a really good freshman year. Sophomore year, I came back, and first weekend, I was pitching and had a little pop in my elbow and felt a little burning sensation. I knew something was wrong, and wound up getting surgery. I had some complications where I grew some bony overgrowth in my elbow. I couldn't straighten out my arm all the way. And so it was a relatively low, they haven't seen that before very often. So I had to get another surgery. The same thing happened. And I was able to pitch through it a little bit, and it grew worse. I couldn't straighten my elbow out past about there. And so I had to get a third surgery. The same thing happened. Because I just couldn't do random things like life, like sticking my hand in my pocket without having my arm bent. So I kind of had to get it taken care of just for life purposes. And finally, I went up to the Yankees doctor in New York City, Dr. Ahmad, and he was able to do a full Tommy John surgery, which is fixing the ligament in the elbow, and then put a second procedure right after and putting radiation on it to keep it from coming back. So it was definitely a hard time to fight through some of those obstacles and setbacks and mentally.
So is this kind of one of the reasons maybe you took up bass fishing and everything? Now, so tell me a little bit about that. That a hobby or sport for you, or competition as well?
Definitely. Anytime I can get outdoors, I love getting outdoors and going bass fishing. My dad, he's always been a big fisherman, just going around the ponds and taught me how to fish. And so when I can't throw a baseball, I'm either out there doing that. I like to surf a little bit. So anytime I can get outdoors or go on a hike or something, I love enjoying that.
Okay, so even when you talk about surfing and everything, do they still say hanging 10? You still hear that phrase?
Yeah, they still do that. Yeah, putting your 10 toes off into the surfboard. I can't do that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a great fisherman. I'm not a great surfer, but anytime I get the chance to do it, I get out there and putting 10 toes off the end of the board, hanging 10. I've never been able to do that, but
right.
I love getting out there.
So, Brett, who are some of your heroes?
Yeah, so going back to some of the hardships that I faced, Inky Johnson, it's a real cool story about him. He was from Tennessee. He played football there, and he grew up in a family. He had 10 siblings all living in the same room, and he was called into his coach's office, and he was one of the top prospects to get drafted to the NFL. And so he was looking forward to changing his family's life and making millions of dollars to kind of help his family out. And second game of the season, he goes in there and has a shoulder injury, and he gets paralyzed on his right side. And they told him he'll never be able to play football again. So that story and hearing his perspective of how he handled it, he told the doctors that I'll be able to use my arm again for the rest of my life by the way I live my life. He said, I'll never let a circumstance define my life. And so he's on a whole nother level of me, but I looked up to that as inspiring to me. I probably watched the video. I'll have to send you a link. It's called, I think, on Goldcast on Facebook, and I probably watched it about 100 times just during those times when I was struggling mentally and trying to fight obstacles. But it's a real cool story he has, and he talks about commitment and staying true to what you want to do long after the mood that you set it in has left. And I've looked up to a lot of different principles that he speaks about, and he's one of the best public speakers, motivational speakers today. So I look up to him a lot.
Yeah, well, I know most people enjoy school and everything, but it's just interesting, 7 years, huh? So you must really like ODU.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Well, it brings me back to, it's a great environment that I've had around, a big support system that's helped me through all my injuries, and it's been a joy to go to the field every day with my teammates and coaches, and I wouldn't be back there if that wasn't the case. So it's definitely been a good experience for me at ODU.
Okay, so what's next for you? I mean, expanding on your life, what do you see yourself 5 years from now? If all goes well.
Yeah. So I'm currently pursuing an engineering job. I'm really interested in like medical devices, something that is along the lines of helping other people. So I'm currently doing my PhD, my first year in that program on reliability engineering. But I would like to do something with medical device, whether it's research and development or mechanical design, something that helps other people. One thing that my brother, he's always kind of helped me with my career, trying to choose a career, and talks about if when you search and you want to go after money, that's not like the guiding principle that's going to get you farther in life. Go at what you want to do, your passion for life. So that passion is definitely doing something with engineering to help people. So.
Okay, so you have any feel-good hobbies other than bass fishing? Of course, baseball is part of your life right now.
Yeah, so definitely bass fishing is probably one of my main hobbies. And I would definitely say golf. I get out there and try and golf when I can, but my swing isn't the prettiest, so it can be frustrating. But you hit that one good shot, and it keeps you coming back sometimes.
So you must be like me. You can count to 4, right? 4.
Yeah. Oh, I'll be counting to 8 because I double bogey. 8, 9, 10.
Well, Brett, that's very interesting. So, in closing, you talked about your people who help you a lot, mainly your family. Is there anything that you want to say on behalf of yourself right now?
Yeah, definitely my family. My support system has helped me a lot. My faith definitely has helped me. Our pastor at River Oak Church is actually a former basketball player at ODU, Heath Burris. And he talks a lot about you're either going through 3 phases of life. You're either going into a storm, you're in a storm, or you're coming out of a storm. And so having to how to go about handling that. I've looked at the positives, using the hardships to focus on the positives, of what you can take, how it can make you better. So I've definitely stuck with a lot of those principles that he's spoken about.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, when it starts to get a little warmer, I'm going to come over to ODU and see you out there on the mound. We're going to stay in touch. And I wish you all the luck in the world, Brett. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yes, sir.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
So another episode has come to a conclusion. This is Ernest Lowery at Podcast Unity. Looking forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.